and welcome to the playoff edition of the Bison Video Blog. Along with Jeff Kolpack, I'm Izzo as we get ready for the second round of the FCS playoffs, with the Bison hosting the Grizzlies of Montana after they beat South Dakota State 24-17 on Saturday to get a return trip to Fargo. Third time in the last 14 months, the Bison and the Grizz, who hadn't played forever, now they'll meet for the third time already in the last year. Before we get started, it should be noted, because numerous people have asked me, who won the pick'em?
Who are these numerous people you speak of?
There it is, over my right shoulder for the third straight year. The nickel stays on the right side. Thank you. Very magnanimous of you.
You're very entrenched in your pickings.
Well, we'll see what happens. We each went 6-2 this weekend with the first round of games. Southern Utah losing to Sam Houston State, I had wrong, and Colgate beating New Hampshire was a bit of an upset as well for a lot of people.
But I think the big game we got was the Citadel. We recognized great FCS minds, as some Informed Communications did not, that the Citadel was the team.
Your hope of going to Myrtle Beach is over and done with those, unless the Bison get an FBS game with Coastal Carolina down the road. Well, here we go, Jeffrey. Round 2 with Montana and NDSU. Everybody remembers game 1 this season, the FCS kickoff game, played in the haze out there, won by the Grizz 38-35. I blogged about it yesterday, where there were 4 plays in my mind where you can go back and look at this game and be like, boy, if NDSU just did something differently there, they could have won the game.
Well, as we see here, turnovers were a big factor in this game.
And I think this was big, too. The LeCompte field goal missed right before the half.
Right before the half, and that was a momentum killer almost, because they stopped Montana on 4th down and had the opportunity for points. But this second half here, and this is what NDSU is going to have to do on Saturday, is pressure the passer, get some heat on Brady Gustafson.
This was a huge play in the game. They force a fumble, they get the ball back, and this is maybe the most bizarre play call ever, was the jet sweep and the fumble, and Montana recovered it.
Dimitri Williams, a true freshman, and actually I think it was his first time he touched the ball as a Bison. Probably not the best spot to put a true freshman in.
And then obviously after Carson Wentz's ankle injury, Jeff, they passed it twice on 2nd and 3rd down. Neither pass was completed. No time even went off the clock. Montana got it back and, of course, drove right down the field to score the game-winning touchdown.
Drove down, was it 16 plays? I mean, that was a long time. That was a key fourth down pass that from Brady Gustafson. And then here was the game winner to Joey Counts. And the Grizz win in the last second. ESPN national audience. How long ago does that seem?
It does. It seems like it was 2 years ago when the actual game was played. And it feels like it as well for both of these teams, because they are two completely different teams. Montana's dealt with injuries, obviously, to its starting quarterback, which we'll talk about in a second, as is NDSU with Carson Wentz not in the lineup. To me, these seem like two completely different teams when they played it at the end of August.
You know, you look at this game, and it's going to be the old chess match when it comes to preparing. You remember when NDSU had this game in August, they didn't know much about Bob Stitt's offense other than what he did at Colorado Mines. You could only guess. Now they've had a whole year to really look it over.
Right.
And the same with Montana now with Easton Stick. They have 5 games now to look him over and see what he's done. So I think the chess match, preparation, all the film mode and whatever you want to say, I think that is now equal. So you take that out of the equation where it was Montana's advantage early on.
You look at it, something you wrote a column about earlier in the season about how often Montana was going to go for it on 4th downs. Right, going into Saturday's game, 18 of 36, so they're hitting right at 500 on the season. 36 times, as opposed to NDSU's went for it 17 times on 4th down.
But you know what the stat that really jumps out at me, and it really surprised me, is time of possession. When you talk about Montana and running all those plays, that being said, they were 115th out of 123 teams in time of possession this year, where NDSU was number 1 in time of possession. Boy, is there going to be some knocking heads on that stat
right,
from a
and
Saturday.
That's going to be the thing that's going to decide the football game, because 92 is the number that Chris Kleiman said to us right after the game, and that was the amount of plays that Montana had. If Montana's anywhere near that number, the Grizz are going to win the game.
Yep, and that's Stitt's goal. That's Bob Stitt's offense goal is to get out there and wear you down with so many plays. And that we saw that in the 4th quarter in that last drive. NDSU couldn't get off the field.
No.
They couldn't get off the field, and that proved to be the game winner. His philosophy won out that first game.
Let's go back and look at the Grizz season, because it was hanging by a thread. This game at Idaho State, Jeff, they go to overtime with the Bengals, who only won 2 games, none against Division I opponents. They needed this, a botched field goal that the Grizz scooped and scored for a touchdown. They won that game. Then they blew out Eastern Washington, and they blew out Montana State. And yet here they are now in the second round of the play. It's unbelievable that maybe, I don't know if fate is on their side, but if they don't get that play, they're not here.
Yeah, it's just... those plays that you look back through the year that they should be at home.
Correct.
If you think about it, if the other team can makes a field goal, they've been playing well the last 3 games. You get Brady Gustafson back, that offense is really clicking.
Now here's the thing that's really interesting. Their defense has also played well as they just destroyed Eastern Washington. The name to watch is Kendrick Van Akron, number 35, who's their leading tackler, broke his arm in the game against South Dakota State. His status is unknown, but I'd be hard-pressed to think you can break your arm on Saturday and be ready for the next game a week from now.
Probably not. I think the indications are that we're hearing is that he won't play.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal for Montana because he's their Kyle Emanuel type of player. You say he's a leading tackler with 130 tackles. I mean, that's a lot. And you take that out of the lineup, that's a big deal.
Now, obviously, the Bison are dealing with some injuries as well. And the biggest is to C.J. Smith, who had a minor knee surgery after the game against Youngstown State. Of course, he did not play against Missouri State. He also didn't play against Montana to start the season. So how big a deal is this that he has to play for NDSU to have any success, right?
I'm pretty sure he'll play. I mean, that surgery he had was a cleanup surgery. It wasn't a repair surgery, so to speak. And the fact he missed the first game and it's playoffs, of course he's going to play. I mean, is there any doubt he won't play?
He'd have to have one leg probably to miss this game. But that was the biggest issue, of course, against Montana is that NDSU did not win any 50-50 balls in that game. And with Ellis Henderson and Jamal Jones as good as they are, and I think they're FCS All-American wide receivers, Smith's got to be out there, and he's got to be a playmaker on Saturday.
I thought Big E really hit it on the head after the game when we did our post-game on the media blog that this was a C.J. Smith game.
Yep.
This was a C.J. Smith game in that Jamal Jones was that receiver they just couldn't match up with. And you take out your best cornerback, that really opened it. I mean, Champion's a good corner, but he's not C.J. Smith cover corner material. Jamal Jones has 68 catches this year.
Well, it's reflected too, Jeff, the fact that Smith missed 2 games and he's first team all-conference. Yeah. I mean, that tells you he played 9 games as first team all-conference. That's all you need to know.
Well, and this was a conference, too, that I thought had some pretty good defensive backs.
Really good cornerbacks. DeAndre Hall from Northern Iowa was the Defensive Player of the Year, and he's an outstanding corner. Let's talk about being at home for NDSU. Obviously, the crowd has been a huge factor. This Montana team came here last year. Brady Gustafson was not the quarterback. Is that a big deal on Saturday?
Well, we've always said that the first time a quarterback comes in, it's a big deal. We said that with Coastal Carolina. Georgia Southern was much better the second time through. Granted, a lot of the Montana team was here last year, but you bring a quarterback in for the first time, and I know he's used to noise. Mm-hmm. I mean, you play in Washington Grizzly, but can you change the play at the line of scrimmage? Can you direct things with everything in your ear like that?
Curious to see how that unfolds on Saturday. Do you expect a high-scoring game? It was 38-35 last time around. Do you see the same kind of thing on Saturday?
Not so much like that. I think when you have so much film on everybody now, I think everybody knows the tendencies. I look for something in the 20s.
The Valley has 4 teams still alive, with obviously South Dakota State losing. Western Illinois goes on the road and beats Dayton. Northern Iowa continues to be the hottest team going. They got to go to Portland State this weekend. But I thought the Valley showed very well on the opening weekend that they're still flexing its strength right now. And
the Western Illinois was no surprise. I'll be curious to see if they can give Illinois State a game. But I think Northern Iowa, their defense is so tough and so fast.
If they get another shot at NDSU, if the Bison happen to win and Northern Iowa beats Portland State, boy, a rematch of that game after how great that first one was, that would be off the charts.
You're looking ahead now.
I know, I'm just saying,
keep your focus.
By the way, 7 Bison get named All-Valley first team. Andrew Bonnet was, Joe Haig. Zach Johnson was a bit of a surprise for me. He missed a couple games as well. He got named first team. Greg Menard, who that was a slam dunk, was fabulous. So was DeLuca, first team. So was C.J. Smith and Ben LeComp with the 7 first-teamers.
Where's Nate Tangoy, though?
I agree. Where's Brian Schatz? Neither one of the first 2 teams.
I think eventually 7, they probably said, okay, well, you got to put a limit somewhere.
Really puzzling, though, because those guys had just fantastic years. Huge week of coverage planned on Inform.com and the newspaper on WDAY leads you up to the game. 2:30 kickoff, only on ESPN3. We'll, of course, have full coverage on Saturday, 9 to 11 with Kolpack and Izzo, followed by the Media Blog pregame show on WDAY.com for round 2 with the Bison and the Grizz.